Hello, this is Daniel Mart, and today I'm going to be doing another review. This time around, I'm going to be doing a review for episode 4 of season 1 of Fear the Walking Dead, and it is called Not Fade Away. I believe so. Yeah, Not Fade Away. So, yeah, before I begin, though, 10-second spoiler warning as usual. For those who have yet to actually watch the episode and haven't already, stop the video, go check it out, and come back here and watch the rest of this review. 10-second spoiler warning as usual, starting now. Sorry. Okay, so 10 seconds are up. So for those who have yet to actually watch the episode and haven't already, please don't comment down below or be messaging me that never gave you a fair warning, because as usual, I did. So as usual, quick synopsis, likes and dislikes, and then the rates. So basically in this episode, we've had a time skip since episode 3 and episode 4. A 9-day a 9-day time skip, and basically which the military has, I wouldn't say exactly taken over, but they've not, I guess quarantined is an okay word, but they've more or less gotten a few blocks, more or less, of the neighborhood, and more or less, I guess you could say quarantine, and they've more or less quarantined it and made it into the safe zone. Okay, and basically what they've been doing is, if they think anybody is a risk of being infected or having any type of problems, whether it be mental or physical, um, they will take them and to this other facility, military facility that seems to be a hospital, amongst other things, from what it seems towards the end of the episode. So yeah, so basically you have the introduction of Moyer, which is this military guy. Kind of he has this one scene where he's playing golf. Reminds me of the governor. I'm not saying he acts like the governor. It's too early for him to even act like the governor in a sense, but he is kind of an asshole. He doesn't really care for other people. But what I mean is that there's this one scene where he's playing golf, and then in the Walking Dead TV series, I mean season 3, there's an episode where you also had the governor playing golf. I just found that kind of funny. You could already tell who's the bad guy. And also, the military is always going to be the bad guy to some extent when you logically think of it. And so there's that. With that, you also get the introduction of Bethany Exner, aka Dr. Exner. Basically, she's suspicious. Again, she's a military, so she has a right to be suspicious. So yeah. So she's basically going from house to house, doing more or less what Liza has been doing for the past few days, taking care of all the patients. But the patients she's looking up on, she's more or less marking them to send them to this other quarantine hospital military base camp. So that's interesting. And then throughout this whole episode, you have all three families, the Salazars, the Manawas, and the Clarks, more or less try to deal with this new living situation. You have Madison; she decides to leave the neighborhood to another supposed safe zone, from what it appears. And everybody there's just kind of shot up, whether they be infected or not. And she later tells Daniel, and Daniel, he's from El Salvador in the TV show. He's from El Salvador, and him and Griselda had to escape the Civil War, and we kind of got a hint of this in the past 1 and 2 episodes. So whatever he tells Madison that this is kind of, in a sense, this is reminiscent of how the Civil War was, that they took a bunch of people, say they will return eventually, and when they did return, they were dead. And also he says that if him and Griselda don't ever come back, to please take care of Ophelia. And that makes sense, caring father, that makes sense. You have this one character called Doug. He's one of the neighbors. I wouldn't say he's infected, but I guess he kind of had I wouldn't say mental disability, but I guess he kind of had a breakdown. So he kind of ran off, and it seems like he was killed, from what it seems, or like Moyer took him to this facility. And again, what I'm gonna discuss more towards the end of the video. So yeah, and so you basically have everybody living in this situation. They do take Griselda, and originally it was thought that it was going to be Griselda and Daniel who were going to go to this facility. Griselda, because she needs to have surgery on her foot, and then Daniel because he's the husband. But no, interesting twist, and probably the second best ending we've had to an episode thus far in this season, with the best one probably being episode 2 with the riots. But this is probably the second best. Surprising, and it's pretty exciting. It's basically they say Nick has to go, and it's because he's like the drug dealer basically of the family. Like when you think about it, he's getting dope. He sneaks into one of the houses to get medicinal morphine. It was pretty funny. Um, and so yeah, so he's trying to run away. He gets the rifle butt to the head basically and gets knocked out for a second, then gets taken away. And then you have Liza, that also leaves. So you've taken out a third of the group. You took Liza, Griselda, and Nick. Um, Two of them are useful. One of them not really. Um, it's pretty obvious because one of them's she's not a doctor, but she has medical experience. The other one knows. I want to say the other one, he doesn't exactly know about medical. He doesn't really have any medicinal experience, but he knows about drugs, basic drug stuff, and he knows how to steal. And then Griselda, well, she's gonna die. If she doesn't die by the end of the season, I'll be surprised. So yeah, and Liza is an interesting character because in the previous episode, like in the first was in the second episode. Sorry, we sorry for like a second in the first episode, and I really didn't think much of her. But in the second episode, she kind of had like this bitchy mood, towards Travis, and I do understand that they're kind of divorced, so they really want much of nothing to do with each other aside from Chris. And then in episode 3, she was kind of there, and here we kind of do see how her true, I guess you could say, true colors are, and it really does seem like she cares for her family, but at the same time, it seems like she's more willing to sacrifice her family, if she's somehow able to benefit from it. So as much as she doesn't want to leave Chris, because Travis, she really doesn't care for Travis at this point. She's like, yeah, Travis, we're like acquaintances at this point because of the circumstances we're acquaintances. But Chris is really like the only thing that's really anchoring her to that group. And it really seems like she'd rather sacrifice Chris to have a better life, I guess, in this zombie apocalypse world, however that works out. So yeah, Liza, what a sneaky bitch. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure, it's kind of, yeah, it's kind of weird how they kind of played that. Liza's a weird character. She's one of those characters where I just don't know how to feel about her because she has like no development, and like the one piece of development we do have is probably like some of the worst developments possible for a character, unless they're gonna turn her into a villain. Because we already have like two villains introduced in this episode. We have Moyer, the sergeant, at the beginning, the head sergeant, and he's kind of an asshole. And then you have the doctor, Dr. Exner, and she's kind of like in a sense, she's kind of like the sergeant. She cares enough to notice the problems with her patients, but she really doesn't care as to what happens to them, from what it seems, which is kind of ironic because she's a doctor, but whatever. The weird thing is for this episode is that it's probably the weakest episode. I mean, we don't even get zombies in this episode. We've had episodes in The Walking Dead where we don't get zombies, and normally those were like the weaker episodes. For for obvious reasons. So I mean, despite this being one of the this is probably the weakest episode. Yeah, it has one of the strongest endings, so it's kind of ironic in that sense. Again, the acting and the writing are good. That's obvious. Special effects. I mean, the special effects for that one scene with the streets with the dead bodies, that was pretty good. We kind of start to see how the deterioration of of society is so far. So that's kind of cool. People just kind of shut up in the streets. The one thing I do call bullshit on is the fact that the grass is already like 3 feet, like 3 feet above the ground. I call kind of bullshit on that. So yeah, overall pretty good episode. One probably the weakest, yet with the strongest ending. So yeah, weakest episode with the strongest ending. Don't know how that really makes sense, but second strongest. So yeah, weakest episode with the second strongest ending. And yeah, and then I don't know if I've ever mentioned this, but many people say that Nick kind of looks like Johnny Depp, and I do have to agree with that, but that's not what I'm gonna say. But has anybody noticed that Chris, the actor who portrays him, Lorenzo Henry, kind of looks like Jake Gyllenhaal? Has anybody noticed that, or is that just me? I don't know. I was just I like. There's this one scene where I'm like, holy shit, he kind of looks like Jake Gyllenhaal. Okay, if that's just, I don't know if that's just me. Maybe not. Who the hell knows? Comment that down below. Let me know. Yeah, like Nick looks like Johnny Depp. Many people have pointed that out, but for me, and I'm like, yeah, I agree. But then you have Chris, who kind of looks like Jake Gyllenhaal for some reason. For me, I don't know. So yeah, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best, and 6 being decent, I'd give this one a 7 out of 10. Pretty good episode, as usual. We also got to see more of a sympathetic side from Daniel, which we haven't seen much of. So yeah, that was pretty cool. Overall, though, pretty good episodes. Despite it being the weakest, it's still a pretty good episode. And that's the thing with The Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead. That even if it's a bad episode, for the most part, even a bad episode will be good. Would still be somewhat decent or good. I mean, unless you have a still situation. That's the episode still. Unless you have some kind of situation like that, it's normally gonna be at least a pretty decent episode. So yeah, overall, pretty good episode. And yeah, that's basically it for now. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. I do movie reviews, TV show reviews, and comic book reviews. Comment down below on your thoughts on the episode. Have you seen it? And if not, why not? And if you have, what are your thoughts on it? Comment all that down below. Let me know. Like the video, share on Facebook, Twitter, MySpace, or whatever you guys prefer. And that's basically it for now. This is Daniel Mart signing off.